Punk Tupac. Yep, sometimes some things be right in front of y'all face, and y'all don't pay attention to it. Why did Suge Knight punk Tupac? Wack, how did Suge Knight punk Tupac? Let's get the notifications up, thumbs up, hit the goddamn subscribe button. You know what I'm saying? I'm not finna get to dropping no knowledge until the people get in the building. Let your people tell the people. Tell some other people that they peoples, Wack 100, is here to talk to the people. Now, y'all can always catch me on the 100 side of Clubhouse. Or follow me on my Instagram page, _ the 100 show. Or if you really want to get my attention and you got some business, follow the queen, R_ANN_B. Send her a DM about what you need and we can get something going on. To all you YouTubers, underground rappers, trying to get some shine on your name, trying to get your following up, trying to get that monetization going on, right? Trying to get the subscribers up. Me and Flacco doing the You've Been Exposed package for a stack, a measly stack. Comes with an interview with me on Clubhouse, interview on the 100 show one-on-one, and then me and Flacco shares your link when he says, click the link right here, right? And then me and Flacco shares a link or two on our IG stories. So you can find that application to fill out on the 100 show IG. In the bio, it's at top, fill it out. R&B is see it, grab it, schedule you, and we'll get going. Shout out to Clubhouse Shenanigans. Shout out to Ray Gibbs TV. Shout out to Clubhouse TV. Shout out to The Answer. That's the 100 Show media team from the Clubhouse app. Y'all go over there and check them out right there on the blocks and corners of YouTube. They got some great content, packing up, running it up, me telling people shut the up, and there's all kind of other ups going on. But let's get the people in here. A lot of us done heard and listened to the Death Row stories, and a lot of people just kind of overlook it. Maybe they don't think about it, but dang, why did Suge Knight punk Tupac? And if Tupac would have stood his ground, he might still be alive. Let's talk about it. We ain't gonna talk about what happened on Las Vegas Boulevard. I'm gonna talk about things that could have occurred that might have eliminated him being on Las Vegas Boulevard. We're not gonna talk about Suge doing football moves and holding people. We ain't gonna talk about that. That's kind of obvious. But what we are gonna talk about is, why did Suge Knight punk Tupac? That's the question. Wack, what do you mean? Well, I'm gonna slow it down and I'm gonna educate you guys. When a rapper signs a deal, and let's say he signs a 3-album deal, right? For $5 million, right? And let's say after he turns in these albums, he still owes $2 million or $3 million, right? The contract doesn't say you have to stay in this deal until the money made back. That's not how it works. I'm gonna tell you why. In that deal, and I'm just gonna use 50% because that's an easy number for people to keep up with. In this deal, let's say Death Row, which is Suge Knight, and Tupac had a 50-50 deal. Let's just say that, right? So Death Row's already given Tupac proceeds, giving him money, advances, paying for things. And he may give him more money. He might run out of money. He might need to hold on to 200,000, 100,000. He might just need to do that. Cool. But once he's turned in all his albums, regardless of what he owes. The only thing that happens is the 50%, whatever number that 50% represents, because it could be 50% of 100% or 50% of 50%, which then represents 25%. But that 50% number that goes to artists, when that artist leaves and the royalties keep coming in from the album selling and whatever's going on, what happens is that artist just doesn't receive any of those residuals or proceeds. Death Row will keep collecting its entirety until it recoups the full 5 million. So once it recouped, then the artist will then receive their cut of the 50%. So if $5 million is owed, and let's say Tupac ran up the bill to another 4 million. I need $1 million. I need this. Fly this chick out. I need a chain. I need whatever it is. And Suge was doing this and saying, you have to pay me this back. When the artist then turned in his last album, them books ain't got to be at 0. His album count just got to be at 0. The only thing that's supposed to happen is when the revenue comes in, the artist just won't get his cut until the label has fully recouped its money, right? So if 9 million's owed, 5 million for the budget, and let's say 4 million, he didn't gave me miscellaneous money. And 10 million comes in over 2 years. As the money coming in, 1 million, artists don't see nothing. 2 million, artists don't see nothing. 3 million, artists don't see nothing. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 million, artists don't see nothing. 9 million, artists don't see nothing. 10 million, artists get his 50% cut of that 1 million. That's over the 9. This is how that works, right? So now that I broke that down, let's go back to the story. The story is Tupac comes in, says, yo, I turned in my 3 albums. I want to start my own company, do my own thing. Suge say, yeah, you turned in your 3 albums, but what about this? What about all this money that I didn't gave you outside of the albums? Nah, you can't go nowhere. And then bullies him into saying, we're going to start Death Row East and you going to run that. But Wack, how is that bullying? He said he going to let him run Death Row East. I'm going to tell you how that's bullying. What Interscope was to Suge, the mother company, Suge wanted to be to Death Row East. So that meant Suge hands is still in the cookie jar. You see the bully? How he punked him? See, if Pac would have just left and started Thug Life Entertainment or Machiavelli Entertainment, now Pac sits in the position of Suge. And Pac could go to Universal or Sony or wherever he wants to go and do his own deals and be in control of the budget and be the head man at that table. Suge wasn't going for that. He's saying, I'm going to keep you under me. I'm going to let you run Death Row East. So, Wack, how does that break down? Let's talk about it. The best case scenario is Suge Knight says, me, Death Row, will finance Death Row East. It'll be Death Row and Death Row East. That means 100% will start with Suge, right? And when they cut up, let's say we going to do 50-50 Pac, that means Death Row, mother company, 50%, Tupac, Death Row East, 50%. This is how this would have worked. I need $10 million in budgets. Death Row would have to release that to Death Row East, right? Now, they have to pay Pac as an employee because it ain't his company. He just working for the company, right? So now Pac goes and starts signing artists. Pac say, I'm gonna show him love. I'm gonna give him 50%. Well, it's really not 50%. It's 50% of his 50%, which is really 25% to the artist. That's the best case scenario. Let's talk about the worst case scenario. Let's say Suge goes back to Interscope and say, hey, Mr. Iveen, Pac has this wonderful thing. Well, we got a problem. Pac wants to leave, start his own company. But I have convinced him into staying and running Death Row East. But I need the money from you, Mr. Iveen. How much money you need, Suge? Suge say 15 million. You say that, right? All right, Suge, I can give you 12.5 million. That'll work. He go back to Pac, tell Pac, hey Pac, I got the 10 million to prove. He gonna keep the 2.5 in his pocket on that side that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. And then he'll say, Pac, you got 10 million to work with. So now what just happened? Suge got a 50% deal with Jimmy Iovine. So now he got 50%. Now he's doing a 50% deal with Tupac, which is really 25% to Pac. So when Death Row East does a 50% deal with the artist, now it's 50% of the 25%, which is 12.5%. See, Pac hadn't even thought that out. He was gonna run into a brick wall regardless. Because at some point in time, them artists that might have went big was gonna start to thinking, hey bro, why am I only making 12.5% off the bag? Well, because Death Row East is up under Death Row, and Death Row is up under Interscope. So the 100% number no longer starts with Death Row, it starts with Interscope, and then it starts to get chopped down. So, Wack, how did Suge punk Tupac? When Tupac told him, I turned in my 3 albums, I'm about to go my way, I'm about to start my own label, and Suge opened that book and said, no, you still owe me? Right then is where he punked him. Because even if he owed him, he wasn't supposed to do nothing but collect and keep all residuals until he recouped what he owed him. That wasn't supposed to stop him from leaving the label and starting his own label. So he forced him to stay there up under Death Row. Now, if Tupac would have left, it's a good chance Tupac would have been in Vegas under a Thug Life or a Machiavelli function. And if he would have been in Vegas under a Thug Life and a Machiavelli function, it's a good chance he would have been standing there with the Death Row dudes. If he wouldn't have been standing there with the Death Row dudes, he wouldn't have been participating or he wouldn't have started to fight with Orlando. If you don't start to fight or participate in the attack of Orlando, there's never no hostilities or no get back being pointed at you on Las Vegas Boulevard. Now, I'm going to look to the chat. If I was talking too fast on the breakdown of the business, anybody have any questions, I'll answer them, as long as the questions make sense. Again, we're talking about this. Don't ask me about no jumper. Talk to me about no jumper when I'm on no jumper. Lua Cruz, if you saying I'm saying a whole lot of nothing, that just means you can't comprehend. So I'm going to do you like they did us in kindergarten. You on timeout. Go in the corner. Okay. You don't have to be there to know. I know the breakdown of the business. We all know what Pac wanted to do, and we all know what Suge didn't allow him to do. Suge didn't punk Tupac in a simple way, but he did use power, influence, and loyalty to steer Pac's direction. Sometimes for Suge, something for Suge's benefit more than Pac. No, nigga. He punked him, forced him, and intimidated him and made him an offer he couldn't refuse, right? If he did, he probably thought something else was going to happen. Why was everybody scared of Suge? I don't believe they were scared of Suge. I believe they were scared of the people around Suge and the decision that Suge might make to influence those people around him. About the whole death row, Tupac. Give me some real questions, man. Ends using the S word, start a channel and make one video saying how you feel. Go outside, that's all you gotta do. I don't know what you're talking about. I think if Pac wouldn't have had died, he would have found a way to separate from Suge. He was trying to, but he got muscled and pressed. Hey, yo, listen. Let me see if some of you guys go keep it real. Shout out to the super chat, my man Trucker 100 ENT. Okay, fellas, ladies, I want y'all to keep it real in the chat, fellas. Fellas, I'm definitely guilty of this. How many of your girls told you, I'm leaving, I'm done, I'm tired, I'm sick of your shit, I'm done, I'm going to my mama house, I'll start over, it's over with. And you stood in front of that door and said, you ain't going nowhere. Huh? Huh? Okay. That's what Suge did to Pac. Now, I'm hoping he didn't rub his face the way we do when we be trying to talk to him. I hope he ain't did that. I don't think he did that. But look, Mackenzie James, I did that a few times. See, you keeping it real, right? Wack, I said Pac was owed $12 million by October 96. I don't know what the books were. I can't speak on what was made, what wasn't made. I don't know. That's just an audit. Get what I'm saying? I saw a Mexican slap you in the casino one night. Boy, y'all be having all kind of whack sightings. That's kidnap. You don't let her leave. Nah, kidnap is when you force somebody against their will to move more than 15 feet. Not letting her leave because you talking to her for 15 minutes ain't kidnap. Now, if she start fighting you to get out the door and you prevent her from doing so, then there's something going on. All right. Shout out to the super chat, Lord Rio. Did Suge really understand the residual breakdown? His financial people understood it. Of course he understood it. Believe that. Can you teach the people and understand why a fade is not a crime? A fade is a crime if both parties don't agree. Word around the street, Suge knocked you out. Suge has never put his hands on me. With Suge and Reggie Wright Jr. in cahoots against Tupac. Reggie Wright was security for Death Row, not just Tupac. Tupac had his own signed security, I'm assuming, but Reggie Wright, I believe, ran Right Way Protection Services or something like that. Right Way, something like that. So I've never known Reggie to be in cahoots against Tupac. That's just stupid. Tupac is the king of hip hop. Nobody did their job like him, programming masses. No, it's got a lot of people bigger than Tupac. Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, Drake. It's a lot of people, just to name a fool, just bigger than Tupac. Kendrick Lamar, you know. People that sold a lot of albums, did a lot of tours. I don't even know if Tupac toured like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of people. Shout out Wack 100, always got the content. What's your beef with Pac? I don't have no beef with Pac. We're just bro. See, if I come on here and talk about Donald Trump, y'all don't say I'm beefing. If I come on here and talk about Shannon Sharp, y'all don't say I'm beefing. It's just content. I can talk about these things because other people can't. A lot of these little gangbang podcasters, they restricted to one lane. Who did what and who had what squab and who did the backflip and who got the tattoo on their face and who did the diss song and Lil Pumpernickel Nim was at the port and he called Lil Butterscotch out. Yeah, that's, a lot of these niggas is restricted to that. I'm just having a conversation about something real. Suge Knight, whole thing was, Pac, you can't leave because you owe me money. You cannot hold an artist because they owe you money. You can hold an artist if they owe you projects or albums. Money that's owed, you are supposed to collect as the residuals come in, and when you break even, then the artist gets his cut. In the meantime, between time, as long as you are in the negative, if $1 million come in, you keep the $1 million. $1 million come in, 3 million old, you keep the $1 million, 2 million's old. 500 come in, you keep the 500, 1.5 is old. 750 come in, you keep the 750, 750 is old. 250 come in, you keep it, 500 is old. $1 million come in, you keep the 500, you give the artist the 50% of the remaining 500 because you have fully recouped. Now you're in the plus. So there was never a time where Tupac should have been forced to stay on the road and saying, nah, you gonna run Death Row East because you owe me $4 million. No, if I owe you $4 million, you gonna keep all the residuals that come in until you get your $4 million, and I just don't get none of the residuals until you recoup. But Pac should have left and went and got him a deal with Sony or whoever, Universal, and became his own boss, his own CEO, signed acts under him. He would have been under a total different movement, sitting in a total different section to watch the Mike Tyson fight, probably in a total different area, and would have never seen Orlando. That would have never happened, and he would have never been the target of the get back, and he would have never been on the line, sitting there while old boy held him like a football bag. Ha! While he tried to escape it. Ha! It's just real talk. He punked him to stay. And if you speak to anybody in the music industry, they're going to tell you, you cannot hold an artist after he turns in all his albums, fulfill all his video obligations, and does all that just because you're still owed money. Let's get those thumbs up and those subscriptions. Subscribe, thumbs up. Appreciate that. We had 100 thumbs up. We got 854 people in here. I'm going to go back to the chat and see what's going on. In the meantime, you all go follow _ the 100 show. Go follow R_ANN_B. Go follow Christopher Lovejoy. He got a fight coming up August 9th in Miami. First fight in the United States of America, televised. All y'all saying 600 can't squabble. God damn it, I put together the fight. I guarantee you it's going to be a squabble. He training 3 days right now. He getting ready. I think he going to knock something out 3rd, 4th round. He will not be going down on no knees. He will not be, ain't none of that finna happen. He will be rested, hydrated, and winded. August 9th. To my motherfucking security team out there, the streets, out of North Miami. Mount up, ready to go. Club Castle, I'm lying. That's somebody else's club. We're not going to promote that yet. Got still a few more things going on. Let's go down here to the chat. Uh-oh. Think I got a super chat. Where you go? I ain't going to pass you up. Lord Rio, how did Suge lose death row? Okay, Suge lost death row. For one, you had Lydia Harris that sued him, who at that time was Harrio's wife. He didn't go to court. He said he was too gangster to go to court. He lost that. Then you had the IRS step in and take his catalog. He had already sold 50% of his catalog to Koch. The other half they took, auction off. He lost that. About 04, 05-ish, he lost the name Death Row, and that's when he went to Darrow, D-A-R-O-W. There was no budgets. There was no distro. There was none of that set up for Darrow. He could have had it through Koch, but that was underground back then. He still wanted to be with the majors. He wanted to be with UMG, and if Suge would have just went with Koch, he'd have been light years ahead of everybody on the independent side. Suge was never really the brains of the business. He's just a marketing genius. Nobody can take that from him. He's definitely a marketing genius, but he wasn't the brains of the business. That's a fact. So you send a super chat, you ask a question, I answered it. Did the homies acknowledge Pac for claiming MOB? Nope, the homies politicked to get their bag and apply pressure on Suge so they wouldn't do nothing to Pac hollering what he was hollering out. Probably a few homies fuck with him, but overall, there's some serious dudes over there at that neck of the woods. They're not, they don't really be playing with it like that. Do you see my content at all? No, I don't, DJ D Turno 88. Content at all. No, I don't, DJ D Turno 88. I don't. How come Suge didn't bail himself out with his own money? He was out of money. Why you think I had to bury his mother? He was out of money. Remember when you knocked out Stitches? Old news, buddy. Me and Stitches are all right these days. Good luck, 100. I'm gonna die sometime this year. Take care. Charles Xavier. Well, Charles, I wish you the best. Maybe you got something going on. Seek Dr. CB, some natural herbs, or do what you could do to fight back, but don't lay down. Who's Death Row gonna sign? Have no idea. Snoop Dogg has other plans, digital, AI, movies. He wants Death Row to be bigger than just music. I got a super chat. Hustle. Speak about Nicki Minaj beefing with SZA. I don't know nothing about Nicki Minaj beefing with SZA. And me knowing SZA, I don't think SZA's gonna beef with Nicki Minaj. I just can't see that happening. Do you think Wack was good, champ? Shout out to Inglewood Legends. What's up with it? You said Suge gave you his life rights. No, I had the deal before, maybe 2017. Somebody got the recordings. I think Reggie might have the recordings because he was online with Matt Barnes, supposed to close a deal with Stars. And then he called me and wanted me to get Matt Barnes out the way, claimed he didn't do the contract, and gave me the contract. And then I realized it was 6, 7 other people ahead of me that had the same contract and kind of screwed up business with my business partners because of that. And when Ray J did his thing, company, Suge told him, you can't leave. You owe me $4 million. And because you owe me $4 million, you can't leave, but I know what you can do. You could be the face of and run Death Row East. That kept Suge in play, Suge in control, Suge in his pockets, and Pac working for Suge. Here's why he punked Suge Knight. When an artist fulfills his album contract and the label signs off and says, this is a sufficient album, we accept it. Whatever's owed after the fact, you supposed to just make back through the residuals. And then the artist just doesn't make any money as those residuals come in. But because Suge didn't want Pac to grow, he told him, you can't go. Matter of fact, this is what you gonna do. If Pac would have left and started Machiavelli, a thug life, whatever he wanted to do, it's a good chance he would have been at that fight because him and Tyson were friends. But he'd have been sitting in a different section because Suge would have probably called him out his name and did some crazy stuff. And knowing Pac, once he got further enough away and got his team right on the other side, he might have would have dissed him or something. So they'd have been in the same building just away from one another. You take Pac out of Suge's circle, Pac's not there for Orlando. And it never happens to Pac on Las Vegas Boulevard. That's a fact. He punked him. You can't leave because you owe me $4 million. No, Negro, you make that back off the residuals that come in, and I don't get my cut until you make yours back. But you can't force me to stay here because I owe you money because you done did this, and that for me. That ain't how that work in the music industry. Not how that work. It's a lot of people, artists, that has left a label after they fulfilled their contractual obligation and wasn't fully recouped. I've seen people 3, 4 million in a hole leave a label and they can't stop them. We got another super chat down here. Let's see if it came with a question. Who makes rappers paint their nails? Nobody makes rappers paint their nails. The rapper paints their nails. Come on, man. Y'all gotta ask me something real. I'm a big boss, 0969. How are you sure about Tupac leaving Death Row and being in a better situation when I think it wouldn't have mattered when all they had to do and keep him drunk and high to take him out his element? If Tupac would have left Death Row and started his own thing, he wouldn't have been with Death Row the night of the fight. He's not with Death Row